If you like, we can make a weekly appointment and really explore these issues. In fact, twice a week might not be overdoing it.
No thanks. I prefer to deal with my demons as they escape.
Hello, world. This is Chris Aballo's podcast experiment, and I am Chris Aballo. Welcome to the show, part 2 of our mental health discussion for Mental May, or whatever the hashtag is for this year. I'm not sure, but we're just going to roll with it. And rejoining me, just like last week, because we're in the same spots we were in last week's episode.
Shit, I told you to switch chairs.
And we're wearing the same clothes. How about that?
I know. Andrew Rizzitello.
Cheers.
He says cheers. He's about to sip on some high-end whiskey that he jacked from a certain owner.
I did
of
not
this studio.
jack anything. Stop
He
it.
has an open bar. He has an open bar policy.
For someone that gives him stuff, yes, I think he does.
Fair enough. And also Ryan Taggart.
Let's get mental.
That's right.
Oh, please.
And well, let's get right into it. Let's pick up exactly where we left off, and we're going to get into you and your journey with therapy.
Do you need help with the heavy lifting?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, the guns are coming out.
That's right. We finally have a gun show here on
Yeah.
the tape, everybody.
No, you can't have refunds.
Admit one.
Yeah.
Almost 170 episodes, but you're finally getting a gun show.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We appreciate your patience.
Yeah. So I guess my foray into actually treating mental health started with a panic attack. It was a few months after my daughter was born, after Brielle was born, and
That'll give it to you.
yeah.
Well,
It was
yes.
the 3 months of no sleep and no time and no freedom and no money and wondering if you're good enough, wondering if you're strong enough, whether you can even do this.
See, that was a question I wanted to bring up, and not for this show, but in general, is a thing you hear about is postpartum depression, postpartum in general.
Right.
And obviously, it's primarily focused on the birth-giving mother of whatever the child is. But can't that, just like PTSD, translate over into someone else? Like what Ryan just said. Not being good enough. Am I going to be able to support this child, to raise this child, to whatever?
Am I going to be patient enough for this?
I feel like that's where we've gotten to again in the modern era. Like a lot of this stuff where once upon a time, I mean, there's a whole generation where the fathers weren't even at the hospital when their kids were born. You know,
they were smoking
they went
cigars
to
and
work.
drinking-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of the conversation. And whether or not you were a good father wasn't measured by your relationship with your child. It was that you went to work and the kids got fed and clothed, and that's kind of it. So now that we're not in survival mode, now that the generation we're growing up in is like more thrive generation than survive, now these questions are, we're asking ourselves these questions, and these questions are being asked openly as well, as far as, are you okay with this? Or am I okay with this? Or whatever it is. That's a very real thing that's come to be in the last. I mean, I'm going to say it probably started with Generation X. And I say that because they're the ones who really coddled their kids, these nightmares that we're now dealing with, who are in high school and college and everything, the wokesters. I feel like they were probably the first generation that really looked at parenting and made a conscious choice as far as how they were going to engage with children. So I do
Because
feel
they
like
didn't like
that's
what their parents did.
exactly. I don't want to be like my parents, the sad bastards from the 90s who we
Yeah.
all were just like, I mean, at least I was, even
Right.
when I was 12, I'm like, ew. But I feel like that was the first time parents kind of consciously looked at being a parent and what that meant and compared themselves to their parents and used that as a basis for how they're going to be. So I feel like asking yourself those questions is very much
Valid.
is a current thing. I feel like that's a new evolution.
Right. And you're never really ready.
No.
So, I mean,
advice
I'm not-
to anyone that may be a new parent or is expecting or anything like that. Take it from two guys that are parents of younger children. You're never
still aren't
ready.
ready.
Yeah, you're absolutely not.
Because, I mean, you could look at everything on paper. You say, okay, I got the house. I married a woman who I love. We're financially stable. We have jobs. Like, okay, I did everything right. Now here's the next logical step is the baby. We're ready. You're not ready.
No, you're not.
You're not.
No, because
Until it's there and it's
the
in your
word
face.
variable was made when children were conceived. Okay.
So you're not ready. So after this was December of 2018. So it's about 4 months after
Yeah.
Brielle was born, and it was right before New Year's Eve, and just the exhaustion of 4 months of it. Just being woken up constantly, and one night I was having just a particularly hard time putting her to sleep, and I was deliriously tired. And at one point, her bedroom door was open, and I banged into it because I couldn't see in the dark, and it just startled me so much, and I started crying. And then before I knew it, I was in bed, hyperventilating, heaving, my heart was pounding out of my chest, my fingers were tingling, and I went into a full blown panic attack, for 20 minutes trying to catch my breath in bed.
See,
and
not to take away from because that dude, I can't even. I can't understand that, because that's not where I go, because I've been in a similar situation being a fellow parent, where Liara, I wish she had an off switch,
right,
just
or
go to sleep.
a pause button,
just go to sleep, please.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but for the first 34 years of my life, I slept like a fucking log.
I would hope
a
that
bomb
I
outside
didn't,
of my room, I wouldn't wake
okay,
up.
listen, I'd say the first 6 months I can't count, because I guarantee you I was probably crying like an asshole. But at our age, my parents came in with Southern Comfort, put it on my gums, and I was fucking out, because that was a cure-all.
That explains a lot.
But there are rules now, and you can't do shit like that anymore, lest you be judged.
You can't?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, don't put it in your Instagram story.
Yeah,
You'll
right.
be fine.
Right.
If you want to put some SoCo on your child's gums, who's to know?
Yeah, who's to know? Yeah, just don't say anything.
Right. So again, I can't understand that, because had that been me, that would have been anger. And I would have been cursed, not at the child.
Oh yeah,
but
I melted down like that too. With just why the fuck won't she go to? Why won't she go to sleep? I don't understand. She's a child. I
this
know
is
you're
what they
tired.
do.
Right. This is what you do.
You
sleep.
feed them, they sleep, and they poop.
What
They're done.
is your problem?
They eat, they cry, they sleep, they poop.
Yeah, you get to the point where they have a limited list of things that could possibly be wrong when they're that young.
Yes.
And when they just ate, they have a dry diaper because I just changed you. What the fuck is your problem? And you and then you have this irrational shame. You're why am I not being sensitive and patient?
Yes,
as a father.
I 100% have been there.
So exhausted that it just in that
Wit's
moment you
end.
can't. You're at your wit's end.
Yes.
And you can't be nurturing, and you feel shame about it because you're just
But you
gone.
can't also force it.
Right.
You're to the point where you can't force that nurture, because if you force it, it's going to make the other part worse.
Right.
No, I
So there was-
100% understand.
So
That-
my issues continued for months beyond this. That was my first real panic attack. So at 35 years old, I'm having a panic attack for the first time, and it felt like I was having a heart attack.
Yeah, I just
It
turned
felt like I was
34
dying.
my first one. So yeah, like I said,
So this is not where my anxiety started. I've been a worrywart my whole life.
Yeah, I could have fucking told you that.
So it would
Just
be,
knowing you for
right. Yeah, so it would be about another 5 or 6 months before I finally decided to see a therapist. So I found one. She was really nice, and but in the very first visit that I had, we started going through the basic stuff the "why are you here" stuff, and I was I feel like I'm suffering from really bad anxiety, and she's like. The way she asked me, it really rubbed me the wrong way.
But she probably did that for a reason.
Yeah, she's like, "Did you diagnose yourself with that, or?" And I'm like, obviously, I would try to answer in a nice way,
right?
But I was like, "Listen, lady, you think I don't fucking know what anxiety feels like? I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of what anxiety is and what it feels like." I was like, "No, I didn't diagnose myself, but all right, you tell me what's wrong with me."
right.
as
I'm open to
explaining all this.
suggestion. Semantics.
But again,
okay.
I was having these angry thoughts in my head about the way she asked me that question. I'm like, "What do you mean?"
But she probably did that for that reason. She wanted to gauge your reaction, and she's probably sitting there with being on her computer or with a tablet, sitting there looking at it, going, "Okay, all right, no anger, manic depressant, no, okay, good, that kind of answer, all right,
She's setting him up.
Yeah,
to-
exactly. She's
to
literally
get an answer.
she's triggering you.
Right.
Right. And it did. I was like really annoyed.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I
at
would
first.
be too.
I was like, what? You think I don't know why I'm here? So then at the end of the first session, she goes, and I'll never forget the way she asked the question, her tone, like her, she was like, so do you want to reschedule or, and I'm like, no, like we had an hour and you cracked down to the root of all my issues. Like, I think I'm good. Like who goes
Yeah.
to who goes to one therapy session?
You're
It's
a
like, you know what?
genius.
You fixed it. Like, and like I've told like a bunch of people this, and finally Jen was like, you know, she probably meant like maybe she should have worded it better, but maybe like, are you comfortable here? Are you comfortable with me? Like, do you want to reschedule here with me? Do you feel like we're a good fit?
So-
is maybe what she meant.
But I mean, if considering this is how she makes her living, you would think she'd
Yeah.
be slightly tuned in to
but
maybe
the way it was
people would
asked, I
react.
was like, what kind of question is that? Like, of course I want to reschedule.
Right.
Like,
So-
we're not
but-
done here.
Again, I go back to she was still evaluating you.
right.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, you think so? Because
think-
I reacted the same way he
I
did.
think it was her trying to understand if this space was still good for you, because I think
Right.
people forget that even though it's uncomfortable because you're dealing with another human being, you have to deal with finding a therapist almost like finding a used car.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like dating.
yes.
That's what I said to
Yeah,
Ryan.
it
like,
is.
Right.
You
It's
need to find the right
seriously like
person.
going on dates and then being
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, this works. Scheduling, see what.
Yeah, you got to
works
get
for
over that
you.
awkward stage, and
Right.
and yeah,
And this was my first time
And to
into
be
this.
honest
Like,
with
I
you,
didn't know what to expect.
Because there's another podcast here where it is two therapists, and they
right.
talk about this,
Right.
and they're like, they want more people to know that because they think automatically they're going to be offended, which that's not the case at all. They're so used to it in that industry that it's like, actually, we want to encourage people. If we're not the fit, we're not the fit,
Right.
Because it's also
because then they're not going to help
And
solve
I
the
think
problem.
that's what that question meant.
Yeah.
But just sort of like she had this like weird tone the way she asked the question, and it just like I guess I took it the wrong way. Like,
no, of course.
Like, of course I want to reschedule. Like, I need
Well,
this isn't like.
I still think she
Yeah.
worded it weird.
Yeah.
but I think it did come from a good place.
Yeah, I think it absolutely did, and she was really, really nice. And like, I don't mean to badmouth, but it was just sort of like this weird tone that she had, and the way she worded it, I was like,
But, and I don't know if you were going to get into this, but when you told me this, it for me kind of said, okay, this is a bad fit for sure. Which I don't know if I think you know where I'm going, or if
yeah.
you
So
wanted to tell
I
it.
mean, ultimately, we made it through about 3 sessions, and we weren't connecting.
You and the
Ultimately,
therapist.
the therapist and I,
Well,
we were just.
The big thing. Sorry, I hope you don't mind if I bring this up.
Oh, I found out that she was a Trump supporter.
Well, that's what it was. Like
that
part
was
of your
in-
anxiety,
in-
like a lot of people, was the last administration,
Right.
And she was a fan,
So
she was a fan,
and
and
but if she can't understand why that gives you anxiety, then it's like
Then she
I
shouldn't
can't-
be a doctor.
I can't talk
Yeah,
to
it
you.
was-
But to even insert her opinion when it comes to something like that,
Which
is
is
frankly,
where-
I think
which
is
is-
unprofessional.
which is where I went with the religion thing with the social worker.
Right.
Right. I mean, we
think,
got into
like,
a discussion about gun control because this was a time where there was just like one mass shooting after another, and it was giving me
Yeah,
horrible
yeah.
anxiety. And I got into that, and then it somehow drifted toward politics. And then she told me that I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like
So, no,
this is
I-
a huge source of anxiety for me. And if you
So-
can't get that, I don't think you can help me.
It's funny you mentioned that because that was one of the things that my doctor mentioned. Not that he is a supporter, but that 4 years ago when Trump was elected, his clientele went through the roof because he had a lot of as they said snowflakes come in,
Right.
and he's like, I could give a shit less who you support politically, but if you have such strong feelings that you feel the need that you need to come and talk to me, that's what I'm here for. He's like, I just want to go home.
Bingo.
I want to take care of my dogs, and I want to go on my marathon runs because he was a runner, like, legitimately. He's like, that's all I care about, and this is my job. I'm not here to tell you who to believe in or what to believe. He was a Jewish guy, not Hasidic or anything, just a practicing Jew.
Your everyday scene.
Yeah,
every
you're
day scene when you see them all.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't eat pork on Sunday or on Saturdays, but the rest of the week I'm having a Baconator from Wendy's, that kind of shit.
Okay, so he's
So
he's barely Jewish. Okay.
Oh yes, absolutely. But no, the whole political thing, it does definitely harken back to what I was saying with the social worker.
For sure.
As soon as she turned around and said, "God will make it okay." Nope,
Yeah, that's it.
nope,
Yeah.
that's not why I'm here, and
Right.
you're forcing your opinion on me.
Right.
That's
And
not
if-
your
if-
job.
Well, that's exactly it. If they're supposed to be objective, and if they're trying to get you to see, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, if they're trying to get you to see through their lens, that's not the point of therapy. It's not. It's supposed to help you get clear with whatever it is. Right. They're not supposed to be their medical opinion or their diagnosis or whatever, that's putting that on you is fine. But not their personal opinions that have nothing whatsoever to do with your condition, whatever your condition or diagnosis may be.
That's why it's perfectly okay that you were like, I'm out.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I mean,
and
that wasn't necessarily like the one straw, but like there were a lot of
straw.
Yeah,
No,
that was
a big straw.
We weren't connecting, and then there was that, and a lot of it was scheduling issues too, because I needed evening sessions, and sometimes she wouldn't be available for like 2-3 weeks, and I was like, oh, this.
But you were, but
I was even after that last session, like I still tried to reschedule, and then like she never got back to me, and then.
But that experience did put you off, and I remember
did.
You and I met up for dinner one night. This is about February of 2019, and you were I'm done. Like I'm not doing it, and I was trying to. And now I was in therapy myself at the time. I hadn't found a new therapist, but I also knew I was moving.
2019, I didn't go to therapy until after that.
Well, in that case, I'm not sure.
I didn't start till I did like May, June 2019.
Okay, so maybe maybe it was that summer. Okay, so my timing is a little bit off.
Yeah, a little
but I just moved up north. Like I didn't find a therapist when I moved. Because I didn't find a therapist like when I came back. Because I knew I was moving to North Jersey. Ultimately, like shortly after getting back, I knew I was moving to where I live now. So I knew I wasn't finding a therapist right away. So I realized I wasn't in therapy at the time when I talked to you. But I was like, don't get turned off by it because
Right.
Like it is helpful, but I get why that did put you off. And I said, I really hope he comes back to this one day because I knew it could be helpful. Not in a preachy way, but I do remember us having that conversation over dinner and just saying like, look, man, don't. Like it's same with meditation. I never thought I was going to be a person who meditated. I thought it was for hippies and I wanted no part of it. But
I can't do
somebody
it.
But see,
I don't know, and not because I don't want to.
Right.
I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. I've got
tried
noise canceling, over the ear headphones, finding some kind of whether it's
got
alpha,
the Headspace
beta,
app.
whatever,
I tried the meditations, and I just
calm, and it just
I can't
it's hard, but like everything, you do need to keep doing it. You do settle into it, but as somebody whose brain does not turn off easily and is going in all different directions all the time, trust me, I know it's difficult. But you can harness it. I'm not as good about it as I used to.
Twice that I can say that I put my headphones on. I found Hailong, the chanting music kind of stuff, and I actually like zoned out. And people would say you found nirvana because you were thinking about nothing. Like literally, your mind was blank. That happened to me for about 1 second. I actually achieved nirvana.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, for meditation, though, like a lot of times it's like I've used a Headspace app a lot, and it's, focus on your breath. And it's just taking the time to breathe. There's a
show on Netflix. I don't know if it's called Headspace, but
I know they're doing something with Headspace does something with Netflix. I haven't checked it out yet. Yeah. But I do find that to be helpful just in that it centers you. Even just focusing on your breath is good. It's a terrible comparison, but it's the only thing I can think of that can describe, let's say, my experience with meditation, which again, I do recommend. And all that started even before therapy for me, just because for blood pressure purposes, it was that and going for, massages, which was more physical therapy than luxury, something I talked about having conflicting feelings about, and we talked about a few years ago. But the best way I can describe meditation for me is, again, terrible example, but like in Get Out, when they send people to the sunken place, the idea of you're in your body, but you're not like fully in your body.
Right.
Like I'm a much smaller version of myself inside my head, and I'm just like a soul, so to speak. And that actually is really helpful. And then as I'm coming out of it, all of a sudden you kind of like, the way I visualize it is I kind of expand back into my body, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
all right, so I'm gonna get a little esoteric here.
Sure.
You obviously meditate.
Let's get weird.
Ryan, do you meditate? Do you try?
I've tried. Like I got the Headspace app, and I tried it a handful of times, and I can't. I
calm down enough.
I can't calm down enough, and like I'll try to get to the point where I just make sure my body's completely still, and then I have a fucking itch on my face, and I have to scratch it, and then it breaks me out of it.
It's
it could be the smallest thing, and then I start thinking about something, and I'm like, stop.
So 99% of the time, that's me. I'm the same fucking way. Like my eye twitches, my ear, like the sweat because I got over the ear headphones, something like that. However, through meditation, there's this the astral projection. This is getting really into the
Yeah,
really,
now you're getting into hooey.
yeah, getting to the more esoteric stuff. But there's a feeling of, as you were describing, Chris, not only shrinking yourself and then expanding back into your physical corporeal form, but your spirit leaving your corporeal form and looking down on yourself. And if you're truly having an out-of-body experience through meditation, you should be able to see the silver string that links your soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it back to your physical form. I did that once. That was fucking intense and scary.
Were you high?
No.
That was going to be my question.
No. This
I'm
was
like, you
this
got
was
what laced with what?
no, this was before COVID. Like I'd say 2018-ish. Like maybe actually no, this was during COVID, because that's when I got the really good Sony headphones. I just laid in my bed. I put on some chanting music. I don't know what it was, but I just closed my eyes, and I swear to you, I was looking at myself in my bed. And like, now I also have had a sleep paralysis event too. That was fucking freaky.
That sounds really freaky.
Okay, so sleep paralysis is a real thing. For me, I literally this was back in Lakewood. I had bunk beds at the time, but it was just me in the room. Stop.
Me in one bed, my depression in the other.
Yeah, my sleep paralysis demon below me.
In the room.
Yeah,
My demons needed their own bed.
they did. So in this, I started off in a dream where I was in some mansion going downstairs, and there was a floating porcelain doll following me. Like, Annabelle style shit. Before Annabelle was a movie. Okay?
Fuck that.
So I tried to wake up.
How about lack of sleep? I get that.
No. So I tried to wake up. My eyes opened. I saw my ceiling. I couldn't move.
Oof.
I could feel myself breathing. I could not move my body. I literally had to go back to sleep and finish the dream, which nothing happened. This doll just followed me around this fucking stairwell in order it's okay. I know it's fucking weird to hear.
This is some trippy shit.
No drugs. Like, aside from allergy medicine, like maybe I was tripping on
as usual.
Benadryl.
Yeah, there's a lot of Benadryl.
No more drugs for that man.
Maybe I shouldn't take 3 in a night. No more Benadryl before bed.
But yeah, so I have had those two experiences.
Wow.
And I've seen. I'm sorry, we're taking the spotlight away from Ryan.
That's okay. Do your story.
Yeah, Ryan doesn't want to talk about himself.
I have seen a lot of people talk about their sleep paralysis demon. I've seen a lot of people jokingly talk about astral projection and whatnot, because Doctor Strange came out
Right.
years ago.
Yeah. That's true.
Not
About 5 years
nearly,
ago.
not nearly like that, but the idea of all this, it's like what you see where you're laying down and then this you come out of you,
Right.
Right.
and you look, but like, wait a second, what the fuck?
It's like Ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the Frighteners. I don't know if you guys
Yes.
know the Frighteners.
Yes.
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
style thing.
Just to put a button on the meditation thing so we can circle back to Ryan.
Okay.
Don't
But
say
I did-
circle back. 2020 has had enough of that.
Okay, sorry.
No, nobody's circling back
Just
to
so we can,
anything
so we can return to Ryan's journey.
of that Zoom shit.
No, I will say, as far as like the not being able to sit still, or like, oh, I have an itch, or I feel, a bead of sweat, or I feel the headphones, or I hear my heartbeat, or something like that.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I get it. Again, I had to fight against that too, and just figure out. Basically, I will say, based on the Headspace app, the idea is just to acknowledge it, but then just kind of let the thought float away. It's like, okay, that's thinking. Okay, that's feeling. And again, it's not easy to do. And I say that as somebody who has a brain like Arkham Asylum with a 2-drink minimum. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
But
That's the show title.
With practice and with continuing to do it, you do it. And I swear to you, it takes. I'm not
It's like
saying it
riding
for
a bike.
comedic effect. I'm not saying it to be cool, to be like, I have mental problems too.
Yeah.
I'm saying it like I found it really, really difficult to quiet my brain. I probably had to do it every day for like 2 weeks before I felt I was getting it. But like anything, you do have to stick with it. I'm not preaching you guys about
like
it
one of those,
necessarily, but you actually do need to continue doing it and try doing it and ease into it. It's like when people talk about doing yoga, like you just kind of, you get very like, oh, I'm not in the right position. But then at a point you kind of just settle into the pose and you're fine.
I found yoga easier
But that's
compared to this.
But just as an analogy though, the idea that you could just kind of like, you get into a position, you're constantly worried about collapsing, but then all of a sudden you're in a position you realize,
Must be 'cause-
I'm holding it. It's okay.
Yeah.
You will get to that point. So it was a big help for me. I will say that. I'm not as good about meditating. I used to daily, like I used to be great at it. I'm not as good now. It's one thing I'm trying to get back on track now. So
It's hard. Yeah,
for what
I mean,
it's worth.
it's hard.
It is hard to
to
get
like
started.
really concentrate and to just sit still and
To
keep
concentrate
still.
on not concentrating.
Like one of those,
yeah.
I was in one of
Yeah.
those sensory deprivation chambers. They have that spa
Yeah?
and brick.
Good God,
that
why?
we tried a few years ago. We had heard about it and we heard it was like really cool. So
That
you're-
sounds
was it-
almost
was
as
it
bad
the-
as a
you go into
porcelain
one of
doll.
those
Was
tugs
it-
where
Was
there's
it
like
the water one?
yeah, where they put in like 10,000 pounds of Epsom salt and you literally just float in the water.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
keeps your
yeah.
body
I've
afloat.
wanted to do that.
And
Oh my God. That
so
sounds
there's
horrible.
like these like kind of like fluorescent lights and like very soothing music and you float there.
I'm
and
done.
it's,
Never mind.
Yeah, so
I'm out.
We decided to try it. So we did it once and you're supposed to just close your eyes and literally just
Yeah, relax.
like zone out and
Yeah.
relax and it's supposed to like recharge your body and get
Yeah,
all the
yeah, yeah.
toxins out of your body and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like laying there floating in this water and with each passing second I can hear my heart just pounding in my
Yeah,
ears.
yeah.
And it gets hot after a while because it's really warm water and then I'd feel like a single bead of sweat
Yep.
come
And
out
now
of my
you
forehead
focus
and
on
then
that bead of
and then
sweat.
it starts to itch.
Yep.
So and then I have to like slap it away and I'm like trying to stay still. So this is a
You're trying to enjoy this moment.
I'm trying to enjoy
of
this moment,
tranquility.
and then there's this little bead of sweat, and it's like,
Oh my
boop,
God.
and I'm like, and it's itching, and I'm
Yep.
like, I can't.
Yeah.
And so I was just freaking out for an hour.
Okay,
and
so-
I'm like, okay, never again.
So you and I need to go do this, and we're gonna hire Christian to film it, to see how it goes. Like, tell me that wouldn't be fascinating. Like, let's see if we can do this.
Look
And
at
they'll
these
just
two
see.
dipshits
Looks like one of those
See what
pods that you'd be
happens.
like cryo frozen
Yes,
in.
Right.
if
yeah,
you-
I know. No, I
right.
do it. I know exactly what
Yeah.
because I looked at that place that in brick.
Yeah.
I'm like, this looks like because I want to be the idea of deprivation of like
Yeah.
removing every sense of anything because you're just floating.
Right.
Yeah.
Technically, it's like he just described.
And it's for an hour.
It's for an hour.
That's
yeah.
wild.
Well,
I
you-
didn't know
you
they were
have
for
to-
that long.
Yeah.
You could isn't like you buy a half hour or you buy like it's a
Yeah, I
session,
think
like
so.
a
I think we
massage.
did an hour. So I had bought a gift card for Jen for Christmas, and then
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, I'll get enough
Knowing
for
good and
me
how
too.
well you were going to be stuck
Yeah, I
going
was like,
too.
I'm gonna go too, so let me get enough for me. And we never did it again because they'd say, well, you have to practice at this. You have to like really get into
No!
it. Like one time isn't going to be enough. And I'm like, I can't pay all this money to be like slapping my beads of sweat off my face.
I don't wanna be
being able to relax because
I could just fill the bottom of my tub with hot water and lay
and my
in it.
heart is like timpani drums in my ears. Like I can't do it. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to relax in this thing.
Yeah.
Next
So
up,
that was
bariatric
like-
chamber. That's
yeah.
this Christmas's
No,
gift.
the world's quietest room.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. Where all you can hear is your blood flowing and your heartbeat. That's
Nope.
fuck that.
No.
Fuck that. Let's
So
get back
that's
to therapy.
So
Let's
that's
get back-
So that's like what
Let's
we're
talk
trying
anxiety.
meditation. Yeah.
Let's get back to something calming
So
like
back
anxiety.
to yeah. So I guess
'Cause I'm
fast
getting
forward
worked up thinking
to
about this.
September last year, after 6 months of the pandemic, and I haven't handled it well.
No
really,
one has.
Really
No
angry
one has.
about a lot of things, and I was just I'm working from home, and every semblance of normalcy was just ripped from my life without me having any say in any of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just still dealing with a lot of anger. And one sunny, nondescript Sunday morning, like nothing was going on. I wasn't really dwelling on anything in particular. Jen and I went to Target and bought
Yeah.
a whole bunch of shit we didn't need, and got coffees and
The normal Target trip.
and I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like ambling around the kitchen, cleaning things up, and then all of a sudden my heart just starts racing, and I start sweating, and then I start freaking out about it. I start hyperventilating. My whole body starts
Domino
tingling.
effect.
So yeah, it's just like everything just snowballs, and I'm like, I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't. There's nothing.
No
that
trigger,
there was
no-
no trigger that set this off, and I just lost it. I had Jen take me to the emergency room. And they checked everything out. My heart rate was like 140. My blood pressure was through the roof. So they did EKGs and all this testing. I was there for like 4 hours, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. But they wanted me to follow up with a cardiologist. So I did that. I went to my primary care the next day, and they're like, you must have had a panic attack. And so that was the one that I really felt like I was dying this time. And what was scary about it is that there was no apparent
just-
trigger.
yeah.
It just out of the blue.
Yeah.
No reason.
Same with me. That's I had nothing that I
and
was
it's-
consciously worried about at the time.
So like this is something like I talked to my therapist about because the first one, a few months after Bree was born, like I understood why. At least in hindsight, I understood why that one happened.
Yes.
This one I had no fucking clue why it happened. And the fact that it could just sneak up on me and hit me out of nowhere.
Right.
Like what if I was driving and this happened someday? Or what if I was out somewhere in public?
So this is a different therapist.
So this is the therapist I'm seeing now. Yeah.
Okay.
So ultimately, like I told him about all this, and the anxiety had been building up, and this must have been the day that it came to a head for some reason.
Yeah.
So he put me on an antidepressant, and
So now you're seeing. All right. I'm sorry. It's little things. Now you're
Yeah.
seeing a male therapist.
yeah, so I'm seeing a male
One
therapist.
who identifies as a male.
No, he's a man. Yeah, so like my primary care doctor put me on drugs. I went on Zoloft and Xanax, and the very first night that I took a Zoloft pill, I woke up in the middle of the night drenched head to toe in sweat, drenched, like someone had hosed me down in the yard.
Right.
Face dripping, like
Right.
heart pounding out of my chest, and I started I had a little mini panic attack because of the way I was feeling.
Yeah.
And that continued for weeks of these night sweats. I lost my appetite for a week. My legs felt like tingly and sore all day. I had blurry vision. I couldn't drive myself anywhere. I was a wreck, an absolute wreck.
So it was the Zoloft.
So I started reading. Yeah, so I started reading up on it, and people are like, "Yeah, you might have these side effects, but they usually go away within 2 weeks." So I'm like, "Okay, this all really fucking sucks, but if this will work for me in the long run."
Right. I'll
Then
stick it out.
Three
Yeah.
3.5 weeks go by, and I'm on disability at this point. Like I couldn't work. Like I couldn't function. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to
Okay.
get out of bed.
And they actually
I
give
was-
you the mental disability.
Yeah, so I was able to go out
whatever.
of work. Ultimately, I was out for 6-7 weeks on disability because I can't do anything.
No.
Like
I wish my
it's
fucking job had something like
crippling.
that. Shit.
Yeah.
So after like 3 weeks, so ultimately I got my appetite back after about a week, and then my legs stopped tingling.
Okay.
But the night sweats were still happening, and I still I couldn't keep my eyes open. I had like blurry vision. My eyes were just burning and sore all day. I wasn't sleeping. So I was like, I have to get off of this stuff. Like,
Right.
Everyone's saying 2 weeks, but now this is like 3.5 weeks. Like, I
Yeah.
can't keep going with this. Like, I need to be able to drive.
Yeah.
I need to be able to function. Otherwise, like, when am I going to get back to work? Not that I was in a rush, but
No, but still
But you
planning for the future.
Yeah. You do at least want to get yourself back to normal, even if the outside world isn't. You
Right.
certainly want to be functional. So
So I found a therapist right away, like right after the panic attack, and luckily it was the first place I called, and I got in with a therapist and really liked him. We connected, and I've been seeing him ever since. Dug up a lot of stuff from not just
Well, obviously you were
obviously like the
bullying
pandemic was-
before.
yeah.
the overall trigger, and then addiction in my family. Things like that, a lot of which I just never confronted at all.
All right.
and
Do
I
you
buried.
mind? Do you mind me asking what was addiction with your brothers? Like what happened with your brothers, or
My brother and my dad.
okay?
So
All right.
I won't get into too much.
No.
detail, but,
That's
in my immediate family.
because I know the story at least with your brothers, but I'm not going to air it out here. I just wanna know
I'm not getting
where-
into detail about any of that, but bad addiction in my immediate family. Not me
No.
personally, but
Right. But still something you to deal with up
but
close.
something
Yes.
that I had to deal with up close, and I dealt with it by not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't
Yeah.
really anything I could do about it,
Yeah,
and
no.
it was a long time ago, and I ran away from it and I buried it.
Oh
I
yeah,
never confronted any of it.
We talked about that. You and I talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of very few people I ever really went into detail with anything about.
Yeah,
Like, I
that
didn't
was
want to.
still
I didn't want to talk to anybody about it, and for the most
and
part, I did
understandably so.
Right.
for years. So I just stuffed it down, and same thing with being bullied when I was a kid. I mean, something I kind of forgot because it eventually stopped, and now I'm an adult, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
who cares? It wasn't something I was thinking
normal
about.
life now.
But then when it gets brought up, in therapy as post-traumatic, then you start remembering those things, and then it just kind of hits you all over again. And it's a good thing to go through it, but it's still really, really hard. And then it just kind of makes your, I guess it gives you a reason as to why you are the way you are. So I've learned about a lot about falling apart safely as my therapist.
Falling apart safely,
which is apparently what I did, even though it didn't feel like it. Like I had to go to the emergency room with a panic attack.
right?
But like I didn't hurt myself. I didn't hurt anybody else. Like I didn't.
And this is just something that I've read online. So having you in front of me, maybe I can clarify. Did he discuss the name 5 things in the room?
Grounding.
Grounding,
Yes,
I've done that.
Yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
I've done that
anxiety,
as a
yeah.
technique.
5 colors in the room, things
something,
like
yeah,
that.
like
naming
some
a
version
certain
of,
group
Tell
of-
me 5 colors you see.
Touch
name
something
5.
and
Yes.
just it could be anything. Touch the table, touch a wire,
Right,
like
right.
and just sense that item and just focus on it. So yeah, things like that. But I mean, a lot of the problem that I have is like those little things, during the day, those little like inconveniences that are really nothing, and I know they are, but they make you like
Yes.
so they feel like a little bomb going off in your head.
We've joked with you about that for years now.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
Especially
as much as it is a mental issue with you, and you're talking to a therapist about it. It is a joke between us all that Ryan's going to flip out over this because
Right.
that's how you are.
Right. You could be
yeah.
very reactionary.
Yes,
Right.
that's a
And,
good
it's,
word.
and I
right.
am.
And,
That's-
that
it's
is
exactly-
that's something I've had to work on controlling as well, where I
especially
was in
something
that,
that
operate in that mode for a while.
right, especially something that's like really sudden or that startles me. Like I can't handle things like that, even if they're little.
Like not jump scares.
like bumping into a door in the
basically-
dark like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like-
something like that, or if one of my dogs starts like their shrill, sudden barking, like that, it feels like a little bomb going off in my head, and I
Yeah.
just react.
Yeah.
And like I'm not violent. I've never hit anybody.
No,
I've never,
but-
and I'm never
but-
going to do anything like that. But if
That's
it's
the
screaming,
overall
cursing,
feeling.
like,
Yes, yeah.
just freaking out about, and it's like I know in the back of my head that this is nothing, and it's nothing I should be. But
But you
when you
can't
don't have
control
that
yours-
time
yeah.
to ground yourself,
Yeah.
because something really startles you. So like I'm trying to work on stuff like that, but it's hard because when I
Yeah.
don't have the time to say like stop, like this is okay, it's nothing. I'm still working on trying to
Trying to be able
trying
to stop.
get through those
Yeah.
little things because I know that they're nothing.
So then, and I'm not trying to insult you with this, but like you would definitely not be able to deal with my daughter because
I can barely deal with my own daughter.
no, but I mean like the things that you're describing, and this kind of goes hand in hand with mental health because like I've said, my daughter's on the spectrum, she's autistic, and the way that they describe it is that they perceive the world differently than us. Whereas we think that we have the sensibility of a civilized man, they may hear colors and see sounds type thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just how the world is perceived to them. One of the things that I immediately saw with Liara is she thinks when she's running around. Like when she's running around, when she's being very active, that's when she thinks the clearest. Which is weird for me because that's not how I operate. I need to stop,
Yep.
think like, what is this? And think about it.
You have to think quietly.
Yes.
She does
Yeah.
the opposite.
She does the exact opposite. When she's hyper, that's when she can solve a lot of problems that she may be having, or that's how she gets problems out. But there's been plenty of times where I've come to arguments with Veronica because Liara is doing something, and it's a continuous thing because she's a creature of habit,
Right.
being autistic. The thing right now is she's attached to Veronica at the hip, even more so than you think. Like literally. And like Veronica just wants to go to the fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Liara can open doors now.
Yeah.
So we're locking doors now. So she'll sit out there and just keep freaking with the handle and whatnot. And I'll be whatever. I'll be on the couch or whatever. And I'm going to go, Liara, leave her alone. She wants to go. Mommy wants to go
I'll
to
be
the
on the
bathroom.
high lung subreddit.
Yeah. Leo, like mommy wants to go to the bathroom. Leave her alone, and that triggers her, freaking out. And now she's pulling on the door and banging on it and running around, or she'll start throwing things.
Yeah.
I don't get how that
And
wouldn't
immediately-
try anyone's patience. I mean, just objectively, I feel like that would, especially on a regular basis, dealing with. And I'm not. Listen, I love your daughter.
No,
So it's-
I
don't.
know,
mean anything. I'm just saying,
I know.
on a human level, there is only so much of that anyone
Patience.
can take.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be beyond a saint, an angel possibly, like to be able to
you're a
handle that.
Sephiroth. You're at that point.
and
you are
then-
Yeah, on a regular basis. Like there is only so much of that. I feel like we are built to take anyway. So I can't imagine you not
really-
having
And you have to
difficulty.
put it in perspective. Like you feel like you're weak and you feel like you're impatient.
Right.
Yes.
But if you have something going on in your brain like this, and the biggest thing that I'm working on is getting rid of that irrational shame, as my therapist calls me. Like, okay, like why did I freak out like that? Why did I react that way? You're human. Like
Oh,
there's
like
no
beating
there's no-
yourself up about it.
you know,
okay.
yeah,
okay.
I'm beating
Why did I
myself
do that?
up, like-
yeah.
good example.
Like this was nothing, and I knew it was nothing. Why did I scream? Why did I curse? Why did I?
Good example of something similar. Liara was constipated the other night, like whenever it was, and there is the one thing that will always immediately trigger me is whining,
Oh, me too.
and like legitimate whining.
Oh yeah.
And she started doing that. And now, again, my daughter's 6. She just learned how to use the toilet. She's peeing by herself now. Still not pooping by herself yet, but she's using it. She's accustomed to, all right, I feel a sensation, I'm going to go use the bathroom. And she's constipated. So it's for us, we're constipated, we feel pain, we know what to do, take medicine or do one of the various
Shotgun, some prune juice.
Yeah,
something.
holistic memory.
Any number of
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, going back to she doesn't perceive or feel the world the same way we do. This feeling, and it's going to sound disgusting, and Ryan's going to giggle.
Probs.
The distinct, the tightness of your ass because you are now constipated.
Well, Ryan is a tight ass, so there's that.
See, but as I'm sorry,
couldn't-
I am so sorry, but there's no other way for me
What are
to
you apologizing to
It's
me
all
for?
right. Yeah. Listen, don't play this for your daughter. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah. But like they feel the world differently. So as we feel like I'm going to sit on the toilet and I feel me pushing, trying to get whatever it is out of me, she doesn't feel that.
Right.
She's the Play-Doh dispenser. She feels that,
Right.
and she doesn't like that feeling, or she doesn't understand.
She doesn't
that
understand where it's coming from or what to do about it. It's
Yes.
just uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's
so
it.
I know this. I've dealt with this before. This isn't the first time she's been fucking constipated. But she was whining and doing it. And then it got to a point where she was doing it to get attention from Veronica. Because she doesn't come to me because she knows she's not going to fucking get it from me.
Right,
Because I'm
right.
daddy and I'm more of the disciplinarian than Liara is. Not
Yeah.
saying I hit her,
But
you know
Veronica
your
makes
own
the
child
rules and
enough.
you enforce them.
Exactly.
That's what
And
it's
you
about.
enough to know, enough to know when it's fake. When
yes.
the whining's fake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
When
that,
it's for
like,
attention.
That pisses me off more than anything is when I know she's not actually hurt or anything.
Yes,
And she's just like,
or there's nothing further than I can do. I, being the parent, can do. Aside now, it's a time thing now. Just as all of us in this room have been constipated, there's a point where it's like I can't do anything else to my body to make me go poop.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just waiting now.
right.
So guess what, kid? Join the fucking club.
Yeah.
But you can't do that to a 6-year-old who's autistic and doesn't understand.
Right.
Right.
Doesn't understand what the club is.
Yes.
How do I?
So I left. I walked out. I got on my phone and I fucking went.
And you know what? Here's where I stand on this. I'm not a professional. I'm not certified in anything. I know.
Disclaimer.
We know.
I know nothing. Well, I'm letting them know. I don't want to get a bunch of tweets. That's okay because you only have so much bandwidth as well. What are you supposed to do? And at the same time, she's not looking for you. She's looking for Veronica. So for your sake, it's not that you are, and I'm not saying you immediately went to like, I can't handle this, or you beat yourself up, or the shame, like Ryan.
Oh no,
mentioned. Like,
it was.
It was.
That's where I'm going. Like
that's okay though.
I sat in my truck, and sitting there scrolling through videos on YouTube or whatever, and in the back of my head, I'm like, why wasn't I strong enough to deal with that?
Right.
Yeah, but that is irrational only because
Like the only thing I
said,
gave myself
anybody-
props for was not yelling at her. 'Cause
Right.
Well, that's something.
Like I said before,
Right. But
immediately.
But sometimes you have to do something. It's either you're going to do that, or if you need to walk away, then you walk away for 5 minutes. I mean,
Exactly. Like you didn't leave her unattended. It's not like you were
No,
home alone with her and she was
no,
constipated
no.
and you left her in the fucking house.
No.
It's you said, I can't deal with this. And that's even recognizing that is I say it's something. I think it's important for you to at least say, like, you didn't yell, so that's good. So you controlled yourself and you were at the
Right.
point where you said, I can't deal with this anymore. I need to remove myself from this. And that, I look at that as being progress. I don't know what a therapist would say. I don't know any kind of expert would say.
Right. It's
But I
just-
think it's justified. And at the same time, again, you only have so much of yourself you can give to the situation. If you max out.
But that line, what you just said to me, and Ryan will probably agree with me, that comes off as selfish. Like I feel that we
selfish and
Yeah,
impatient.
giving,
and-
You're
Yes.
not a superhero just because you reproduced. I mean, look,
should
I
be-
realize I'm childless.
I don't mean just dealing with a child. I mean in general. I did not give enough of myself
Right.
to whatever the situation was.
Yeah. Remove the child from it. For
Okay,
anything.
okay.
Yeah, remove the child.
Anything that I freak out or blow up about, like I always have irrational shame after because I couldn't react in a calmer, more direct manner to it. And no matter how many times I go through like these little things where I blow up, like I feel like I'm not learning any lesson. Like, why
Yes.
couldn't I stop myself from like?
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
like you can make fun
And
of
it's sort of this overall, blanket where you wonder, okay, I have this family, I have this wife who I love, and this beautiful daughter, and I have a roof over my head and a steady job, and the bills are getting paid. I have on paper everything you could ever want, but sometimes
It's not enough.
It's not enough,
It's never enough.
and it feels like it's insulting to the people who are around you.
Yes. Because you know
Because you
they're
can't say
happy.
that, like, they're happy, and yes, I'm happy with you, and yes, I'm happy
Yes,
with
but it's
the
not good enough for
situation,
me.
but it's not enough.
No, it's never enough.
And that shame is the worst feeling.
Yeah.
To feel like it's just not enough. I have everything I've ever asked for.
Yeah. I really don't
But
have
it
a care.
It
but it's not
doesn't
enough.
keep the demons at bay.
Right.
No.
It just doesn't.
No.
And
Money doesn't buy happiness. Yeah, but it helps.
At least you can
Yeah.
pick your own kind of misery.
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
So like that's one of the biggest things I'm trying to get over is that irrational shame about
Well,
my mental issues.
You're
and
not
the way I
alone.
feel.
You are not alone. I mean, between us, not even a broad
Yeah,
scope.
in this room,
in
you're not
this
alone.
room, you are not alone.
I do. You putting it in those terms, I do have those moments where I'm beating myself up. In fact, because I don't think it's that. I feel like it's close enough to this irrational shame. I feel like this is maybe a cousin.
Okay.
In that one of the things that I've had to work on through therapy is, I'll give you an example of where we're sitting right now. Describing the opportunity of coming here, because found Shared Universe in August of 2020. Started seeing my therapist the following month. And Jack and I came here in September of 2020, the same month, to do the first show and said, this place is great. And we planned to come here in October and all of that. So we started coming here on a weekly basis in October. The shows were going well. And one of the things early in my therapy, when I was describing the situation, how the show's going really well and we're having fun and like the four of us are having fun together again, like doing this together again. Mm-hmm. And it's good to be doing anything after the batshit crazy year that was 2020. But anyway, all of that to say, my therapist had to point out to me, and that's one of the things about therapy too that I feel like people maybe don't get. A lot is said about you in the way you talk about situations. It reveals a lot about you.
Oh, yeah.
The example I always give to people who have asked me about therapy is, okay, you know how, did you ever read Catcher in the Rye? You know how Holden Caulfield's referring to people as like, oh, that person's a phony or that person's a liar or whatever it is. That doesn't tell you anything about the other character. It tells you about him and the way he sees people. That's kind of the example I give people when I talk to them about
making me want
therapy.
to go read that
And
book again.
there you go. Well, it's probably worth revisiting. I haven't read that since high school. But the idea that the way you tell a story and the way you talk about people reveals more about you than it necessarily does the other person. So when I'm talking about coming to a shared universe and, things are really good, this is, I'm so glad that this happened. I'm telling the story and I'm saying it was just luck. I just got lucky. I happened to find this place. I happened to see a post on Instagram where somebody was where somebody had checked in. The location was a shared universe. I said, I happened to find it. It was luck. And one of the things I've had to work on and notice about myself is, and I've done the same thing.
It's not luck.
Without getting into a laundry list. It's not so much that it isn't luck. It's the idea that I need to acknowledge that I noticed an opportunity and I took it. And hence we're sitting here today. I could have seen that and said, oh, it'd be nice to go to a studio, and then just moved on. Kept
But no,
scrolling past the
made
next
a
thing.
conscious
But I made a
decision.
decision to say, there's something here, I'm going to do something about it. And same with like the screenwriting that I've been working on. First was a workshop, and then it was, I'm going to continue working with somebody one-on-one twice a month, which I'm now doing once a month. And the idea that it's not just like, well, this happened to, this offer happened to pop up in a Facebook ad or whatever it is.
No, I made this.
This
is mine.
Well, that's it. Like acknowledging that you saw the opportunity and you took it, and don't just pass it off as luck. Like giving myself credit for doing something that is positive, which is something that he could tell was something I wasn't doing in general, but it actually did make me reevaluate the way I notice things, and even looking at the past and kind of putting that perspective and say, well, no, I guess it wasn't just that. And yeah, it was because I met this person and they told me about such and such or whatever. So that's been important for me in that I never really thought about it before, and now it's eye-opening.
You can make as much fun of me because of course
we will.
I'm gonna mention the Masons, but one of the things
Start laughing.
yeah, exactly. Just yes. Where's the stream box? Just start pressing like the cued laughter or whatever.
The candle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Official sound effect of the Freemasons.
Yes. That's
The Protractor Club. Anyway, go ahead.
Taking compliments. Yeah, I know. Taking compliments.
You're horrible at taking compliments.
Okay.
You're awful.
Yeah.
You always have been, and I've always gotten on your case for it.
Yes. Like you were saying,
And I'm not good at it either, so I shouldn't.
But like
Shouldn't
you,
give
but
you
like
shit
you,
about it.
but it goes along the same terms as what you were just describing, where it's owning a decision you made and not passing it off as, yeah, but there was other people to help me. I wasn't the only
Right.
one. I didn't make the decision. I had a group of guys that made the decision with me. It's like,
Right.
no, you made the fucking decision. You told those guys this is what it is. Go do it.
Right. Or even if it is a group thing, acknowledging your role in that.
Yes.
As opposed to saying like, well, it wasn't just me, and kind of doing which
putting yourself in the limelight for once.
Well, I think it comes from the idea of being selfish. I feel like a lot of that comes from not wanting to acknowledge yourself or look like you're patting yourself on the back.
Yes.
I think that's part of
Yes.
it. I think that's part of where it came from
Yes.
for me, where I didn't want to look like I was being full of myself for acknowledging something like that. And it's like, no, there's a difference between being braggadocious and there's a difference between acknowledging something you did that had a positive outcome. It doesn't mean you need to be a dick about it.
In that same vein of going out and trying to find purpose, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
Social groups. Be it whatever it is. For me, obviously, it's
Freemasons.
For me, it's obviously Freemasons. But for like you, it would be like a group of musicians that you get together with every Friday night or something. Ryan, it could be. Hell, it could be your coworkers that you haven't seen because of the pandemic that you're going out and you're just going to a coffee shop with. I think that has a lot of help in, I don't want to call it recovery, but in mental stability.
In terms of a positive influence on your well-being.
Yes.
Which is another thing that's made a huge difference for you, because you were never a particularly social cat at all. With us, and you even ran hot and cold with us as your best friends. And it's mega.
I got you.
Get out.
Gotcha, bitch.
Well, fuck you then.
Yeah.
You take your soul off in your liquor and
couch.
and don't drive into something, but leave. Anyway, don't answer the call of the void, but just get out of my face.
I am the void.
That's this episode's title. So
I am the void.
I mean, it's not going to get any better than that.
Nope.
Anyway, so I have noticed that it's made you. You're a lighter shade of black now. I'm not trying to make it a race thing. No, but really, you used to be. Yeah, it is. You used to just be very. I mean, you'd be loose around us. But that's it. Stop looking at me like that. I told you it wasn't a race thing. I'm talking about his heart. I'm not talking about his.
I actually found it.
I'm not talking about melanin.
It didn't grow 3 times. It only grew like once.
I'm not.
Yeah, for once.
Right.
For once, it's him.
He did it.
Can we blur his face in the video?
It is a color. I mean, I'm not trying to just make it
That's it.
about.
But you know what you're referring to there? Self-care.
I hate that fucking
self-care.
phrase.
Hashtag self-care. Oh, I know. We've been over this. But let's not
Anyway,
do a comedic
go.
retread
Yes,
of previous
yes.
weeks. Anyway, but I did notice that you would be fun and jovial and everything around us, and that was
Typical.
I hope, but helpful in some way, because we were the social group for a while. Sad as it sounds, that was that was our role to a degree.
That
And
was
then you
then.
found the Freemasons. Yeah, and we've been replaced by the Freemasons,
Hang your head in
which
shame.
I've said in jest and in all seriousness. I'm like, well, we've been replaced. We've been supplanted by this other group of assholes. But
And that's
I'm
literally
saying,
what
like,
it is.
trading one group of assholes for another. Thankfully, there are kind of assholes.
They are.
As I
Yeah.
found out.
And you've talked to some of them.
I got people watching you because you were dumb enough to introduce them to me. So I have legal paths full of jokes about you that you don't even know. but
Don't doubt it. I don't.
it's happening. So anyway, but I do think that's gone a long way with you too. I mean, it does. It sounds cheesy to meet new people, but also to get around another group of people who you also have different interests. Like one of the in some of the ways we don't connect when it comes
Absolutely,
to
yes.
guns or knives or even liquor. I mean,
Anything.
beer. You connected with Ryan. You know,
Right.
Jack will drink beer, but doesn't really like beer.
He doesn't
So-
explore it as much as Ryan.
No, he doesn't. Like Jack's fine with pounding down 6-7 Dos Equis in a night, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have the palate for it, which
No.
is fine. I don't either. I'm not trying to
No.
come off like some
I say
sophisticated-
IPA, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna eat vines.
Yeah, it is. It's carbonated grass. No, thank you. So, grass has been pissed on. But anyway,
Don't miss it.
no palate whatsoever. But I will distinguih between all the flavors of gummy bears, no problem. So, look, what do I know? But anyway, yeah, the idea that you now have guys who are interested in more stereotypical manly things that you are, which we're not. Like you just don't have those things in common with us, and we're the ones who are going to make fun of you for it.
Of course.
But at the same
I'm
time,
a man's man.
But that's a good thing though. Like in the same way, I would talk to musicians or
and
film
that's
nerds
what, and
or,
that, yes,
like,
that's
whatever.
what I'm talking
Like,
about. Like
exactly,
you
like
get
that.
it starts in a common place of for you musicianship, and then you find your little niche within that. That not only do you like music, but you like certain music, and that certain music goes with these films, and then that it expands out from that way.
Right.
And Ryan, toys and beer, for instance. I've noticed, especially on your posts, and you could just be bullshitting because you want to feel good about yourself.
Could be.
Damn.
No,
Tell me more.
He just spent 40 minutes telling us why he doesn't feel good about himself.
Yeah.
Don't even put that on him.
Do you even listen?
No. Where have you been?
That's why I'm in therapy.
I've been listening to the call.
I only listen to one thing.
But no,
the
it's true. Like,
void.
but you have it may be in a group of people who you don't know in real life. Maybe some of them you do, but yeah, you have like a beer community.
Yeah, you do. You have like
And
5 or
you
6
have
people that you constantly tag that
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
send
A
beer or
group
you
of-
get beer.
beer enthusiasts, functional alcoholics. But, yeah, but you have a group of people, which is great because that's something like you can't talk to me about it. You can kind of talk to Andrew, but Andrew's
not
almost
nearly
gone.
to the level.
Yeah, exactly. Like on about certain things, or at least
Andrew
local
left me.
places.
I did.
He's moved on to brown liquor and
Yeah.
cigars.
Yes.
Because again,
And
he
hi-
he
and
thinks he's
higher
a
alcohol.
sophisticate.
Yeah, I
That's
am.
what it is.
Yes.
He's
I
like-
need more alcohol. 18%. I start at 40.
Yeah.
Well,
80 proof or bust. But anyway, you okay over there? What happened?
Just
listening to
y'all,
this.
I was
We-
like, God damn.
We got a lot of range.
yeah.
That's how this comes out. Like, wow, they were just getting really serious about therapy, and now they're busting on each other for the shit they like.
This is therapy.
Yeah, this is therapy.
this is harken back to the beginning of the only
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly.
Like we said in the last
This is
episode.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, it's just like even being able to bust each other's ball, and that's another
There's
thing.
a difference. It's not bullying.
Well, no, it's not.
No,
You
no,
know
no.
what? That's something I did have somebody come to me. This is years ago, like with the only podcast, and somebody did come at me and be like, "Wow, you really bully your friends on your show." And I said, "It's just busting balls." Number one, we're from New Jersey. Kind of goes with the DNA of just
Absolutely.
That's really
If
what
you
it is.
can't deal with that, move.
Truly, yeah. Like that is
It's
our
a
dynamic.
Joyzy thing.
But on top of
it
that,
is
like,
100%.
if you can't show your friends love by busting their balls, then what kind of a friend are you? Like in my book.
And even in your relationships, I'm sorry, if you're in a relationship, be it a man or a woman, specifically in New Jersey here, and you don't look at them and go, "Hey, fuck you," and they go, "Hey, fuck you," but that's okay because that's like,
Exactly.
hello.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
don't want
it's
the- I don't want
okay
the
to say.
relationship.
It's
Andrew,
okay.
only you talk to your wife like that.
Well, not necessarily. I've had my days. No, but there are those times where whether it's friends, relationships, whatever, it's like, look, I'm going to say things and I'm going to be a dick. I don't mean to come off like a dick. I'm going to be. I don't mean to say something that offends you, but I probably will. But that's okay. And in the same way, at the same time, though, I see how that's backfired because a couple of times when Andrew and I have had deeper conversations about
Yes.
things. There's some things where he said, well, I haven't talked to you about it because I don't want you busting my balls about it, making fun of me for it. I don't want you bringing it up on the show, which is always, I mean, and that has been, particularly in this iteration of Cape 3.0, something that I said, no, I'm not bringing, if we're going to talk about anything, I'm going to ask first if this is a topic that is worthy of discussion on the show. I'm not going to bring in personal shit because that's not constructive. That's not the way to kind of go about discussing it. And also, the show's supposed to be fun and light. It's not supposed to be putting somebody in the hot seat necessarily.
Right.
That's not really
And
what I'm going
I said
for.
that to all of you guys before.
Right. But you have, and it did, honestly, I felt bad for it. Not in a shameful way, but in a way of just like, wow, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Where like you couldn't talk about something, so you thought we were going to bust your balls and not take it seriously. Which obviously, I feel like with time and with having talks like this, honestly, I think it helps to smooth over some of those bumps where maybe you thought, I don't want to get into that with them because they're just going to crack jokes about it or whatever.
Because they don't know.
And in reality, it's like, well, I hope there's, and I say this truly, I've said this to you anyway, but like, I hope there are things that you know you can talk to us about or talk to me about. Fuck these other clowns. But I hope there are things that you, exactly. See, what did I just say? I hope there are things that you can talk to me about.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not show fodder because not everything is. And
As
it's
much
also
as it
something
sounds like
that's,
it, no.
well, yeah, that's a lot of stuff is brought to the table, but there's a lot that isn't. Totally. It's probably
There's stuff outside the door
60-40.
still.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's left that's just like, this is not to be discussed on the show. And that's okay too, because no part of me is just like, nope, we're going to get real, everybody. We're going to talk about as much as this is rooted in like what we actually do and talk about. But
Right.
yeah, I do. I hope you, all of you feel comfortable enough to say like, look, we can talk about this and it's okay. Like even, ball busting aside and all the other stuff, so much we may joke about it. It's not that we can't get into the serious stuff.
And that should extend out to your audience and their friends also. That
Absolutely.
That yes, we're Chris decided to do this show in May because it's mental health month or whatever the fuck
mental health awareness or whatever
self-care
whatever the
month.
hashtag is,
Yeah.
but it's a good.
It was timely.
It doesn't need a month.
No,
it should be
doesn't.
something that should be a conversation all year long.
Yeah, and if you feel that your friends or your social circle are making fun of you for anything, be it lifestyle you choose, sexual orientation, anything like that.
Your taste in weaponry,
Your taste in weaponry, your taste in whiskey or beer or cigars.
or if you have no taste for alcohol,
or
like
if,
I used to
or
not.
if you just are an idiot.
Pandemic changes people.
No, seriously, consider seeing someone, consider talking to someone outside of your immediate group.
And even anonymously, I mean, they're not. I can't remember the name of the. Maybe one of you will, because I'm bringing it up. But like, there's the phone number that Michael Phelps does advertisements for.
Yeah, it's not a suicide line, but it is like a depression line. Like,
yeah,
they advertise it on Facebook too, and I'm right there with you. I don't know the name. Off the top of my
I
head.
can't
Is
recall
it
the name.
Talkspace?
Maybe.
I will
Maybe.
look right
Yeah,
now.
look it up because I don't want to leave people hanging.
Yes.
But listen, in part of. And one of the reasons I did want to talk about this. Now, granted, Ryan did first bring the subject up.
It is Talkspace.
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 Okay, what's the number?
So it's actually an app, but it is Talkspace. The number is 1-800-273-8255.
If you feel like you can't, if you don't know that there's a person you can trust in your life.
There's a website for it that it's like the first thing it says depression test. Take a free mental health test. Online therapy with a licensed physician. Talkspace. Join our network. And they have an app for it on Google Play and obviously on Apple.
I'm sure they have it on Apple as well.
And now there are a few questions talking about whether insurance covers it or does it cost anything. I'm not going to reveal those answers.
Right, but it's worth looking into.
Again, that number 1-800-273-8255.
And I wanted to do this at some point anyway. I wanted to have the real discussion because I thought it was important. And a large part of that is for me. I didn't have a reference point in my life for anybody who was in therapy, who had gone through therapy, and it had helped or anything like that. I had none of that. What really helped me and what got me to the point where I realized it was okay to look into talking to somebody was I was listening to Howard Stern talk about seeing a therapist 3 times a week on his show, which he's been very open about.
3 times a week?
3 times a week.
Damn.
Craig Ferguson talking about going to a therapist once a week. And hearing, particularly at the end of 2016, when Springsteen's autobiography came out, and he opened up about his depression and the things he dealt with. And he had a really great quote in, I can't remember where the interview was, and I'm paraphrasing it. Obviously, I don't know it word for word, but he basically said, if you don't slay the demons of your youth, they will follow you into adulthood and for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true, as we've all uncovered through our therapy and the different ways we've gotten into figuring out what's really going on with us. So the fact that I had, and you may say, oh, they're celebrities and it's not the same, or they're rich, what do they
It's
have to
the
worry
same.
about, anything like that. It is the same. There was actually a really great, actually told Andrew to listen to it a couple of months ago, but I'm going to recommend to everybody, if you're a SiriusXM subscriber, get the SiriusXM app. And I think it was beginning of 2021, Chris Rock was on Howard Stern, and they had a very serious talk about therapy. Now, these are guys who are icons in their field.
Yes.
Howard Stern is synonymous with radio, and Chris Rock is certainly, if he's not in the top 5 comedians, he's in that conversation, like, of all time. And Chris Rock, they talked openly for over an hour just about therapy and about what's going on. And, Chris Rock's in his late 50s, Howard's in his 60s. And about a year ago, Chris Rock reached out to Howard to say, I'm looking to get into therapy. I have some things I think I want to work on. In his 50s, finally started looking into it. Reached out to Howard and basically said, I don't know where to go. Do you want me to see your guy? Basically, after a year, Chris Rock is seeing a couple of different people because there are different areas he needs to work on. So he's working with people with regard to those specific issues. And now he feels like he's finally getting things together. So as much as people want to look at it as just like, oh, it's celebrity or rich, and aside from our everyman experiences, so to speak, then it is important to hear about people's experiences and hear people's what they've gone through, and also that it's okay, because it is okay. Because I didn't have anybody I could look at to say, therapy's a joke in TV shows and movies.
Right, like
you're crazy. Oh, you therapy
that we've discussed also deal with where you're from in the country, obviously.
Yeah.
But also men. I feel that the idea of being a man is that you don't ask for help. Real, big boys don't cry.
Don't ask for directions.
Don't ask for
there's a lot of that. I made the joke a couple of times.
If anyone wants to call masculinity toxic, that's the toxic part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's toxic
you
to
can
yourself.
be helpless.
Right.
Yes, you can be helpless. You can ask for help. You can go and talk to someone that has a license in whatever it is that you need help with.
In whatever fields.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
no
I'm
shame in it.
I'm similar to Chris. I didn't have anybody, even though I had an experience earlier than the other two guys in the room. I still didn't have anybody for a piece of reference.
Right.
Yeah.
I just literally I got badgered by my wife to go. No, you need to see somebody.
And you have to get over the stigma and the shame of it that society has created.
Exactly. Because there is.
Because even when I first went, when I saw the first therapist, I didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my own parents. I didn't want Jen's parents to know.
Yeah.
She knew, and that was it. Like,
Yeah, it took
I
a
don't
while
want
for
to
me
tell
to tell
anyone.
I didn't tell my parents for a while.
I was like, I don't want them to think that. Like,
I didn't tell you guys when we had the conversation through our group chat about how I actually felt.
Right.
And what Call of the Void was to me. Mm-hmm. I could see all your faces like, what? Like your jaws on the floor. Like, you never. I'm like, no, yes, I have. And I've just never fucking said it to you guys because I either felt you're going to make fun of me for it because that's just stereotypical with our group.
Right.
Or B, it's not going to mean as much because, it's coming from me and that's just Andrew.
Well, listen, even you acknowledging the masculine thing isn't to ignore it, or it's stereotypical thing is just ignored or something like that. And that also comes, I feel like, from the mentality of a bygone era. I mean, I've made the joke on the show recently, and it is a joke and it isn't a joke about, back in the day, it's, Uncle Dave loves to drink. No, Uncle Dave's an alcoholic. He has a problem. It's not that he loves to drink. He can't help himself. But once upon a time, shit would just get swept under the rug. That's really where things were. And same with, a man doesn't deal with it. A man doesn't cry. A man doesn't acknowledge it.
And by the way,
stuff is
we are not woke.
No, we're
Don't
not even
label this
getting
show as woke.
No, it's not.
If it's anything, it's being truthful and helpful to those who may not be able to have this discussion with their friends, their family, XYZ.
Frankly, I'm probably just going to put the full video episodes up as well, just for accessibility purposes.
You should.
Because
And then they can see my fat ass and make fun of me for it. But you know what? If that helps them, let them.
It looks like he drinks a lot of whiskey. Some basement dweller. Yeah, you look like you need Zoloft. Ask the doctor to double your dosage. Crybaby.
Anyway, you incel.
Yeah, some incel. I was actually going to say that. I was like, some fucking incel in his mom's basement. But no, listen, it did go a long way with me to have these points of reference to say, okay, here are people who are reaching out for help, and like doesn't mean they don't have problems. It's not like fame or icon status or anything like that, or money is going to fix it. There's still stuff.
It's not something.
It's not.
It's not something like you hear advertised on the news, like so and so celebrity is now identifying as blank, or anything like that. It's like no, these guys or girls turned around and said like Britney Spears. Perfect fucking example.
Right.
We made fun of her years ago when she shaved her head and had the flip out, and now all of a sudden it's coming to light why she has such a thing.
14 years later, or even the same.
And I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Because I was one of the people that made fun of her for it.
Totally.
I am. If
me too.
she's
And I
listening to
grew
this
up loving
dopey
her.
show, I am sorry. Honestly.
We're sorry, Brittany.
And at the same time, look, one of the people I have the most respect for, one of the celebrities who is outspoken, is Demi Lovato. I just want to give her a hug. I do. Just because she really
been
has
through it.
kind of openly, she has struggled with these things. She's been tripped up at times, but she's been very open about getting help and that it's okay to have a problem. Or like even the same way when it comes to the stigma of any kind of mental, it's not mental illness, but any mental issues is Carrie Fisher. It's one of the things I loved about her is that she was just own it. Own it. I'm bipolar, and I own it. And she
And
makes
I take
jokes about
drugs
it
for
and did
it.
everything.
Yes, yeah.
Right, exactly. And even that's okay. Like if you need to be medicated, it's okay. Conan O'Brien, same thing. Like he's medicated. The boss is medicated. I mean, like it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like you can deal with these things. Again, it's not a cure, as Andrew acknowledged.
No, it's not.
It's not a cure. But if it's something that helps, it's great. We actually had there was a great discussion that, forgive me because I don't remember if you guys were. I think you may have left. I don't remember if you were there, but it was at. I'll keep it vague because again, it's other people involved. But like we were at a holiday party, and there was a moment where there was actually a candid discussion about mental health. I mentioned something about therapy. Someone else mentioned about being recently medicated. Someone else mentioned something about being having been medicated longer term, and it was like a 10-minute discussion.
I think I was there.
Okay, but it was like, wow, I'm glad we're in a room. We were able to talk about this, and everybody felt comfortable. And then the conversation moved on to wherever it was.
Yeah.
But even just to
It
have
wasn't
that
a big
moment,
deal.
it was not something like there wasn't any shock. Nobody had any. There were no
There might
snarky
have been,
comments.
there might have been a little bit like, oh,
But
I didn't realize
exactly,
that.
like exactly that.
Huh.
I didn't
Oh, you
realize
too.
it. Oh, okay, and it was fine. And then the conversation just went wherever else it was going to go. All right, so we should wind down. But anxiety, as far as handling it, I've mentioned meditation.
Grounding.
Grounding is really, really helpful. Name 5 objects in the room, name 5 colors you see, things like that. I mean, I have been put on medication at any point. I've never been at the point where I've needed to. I've been recommended books and things like that. My first therapist actually mentioned that. She thought I'm not obsessive compulsive, but she thinks I compulsively obsess. So she did recommend some OCD oriented things to do. And look, I know I get that way. I gesticulate a lot. I have a lot of nervous energy. If you're watching the video, I keep shifting around in my chair and doing stuff
That's
like this. and I do
ADD
it all
or
the time.
ADHD, if anything.
It could be. I do. I get it, and that's okay. And I realize that sitting still is not my thing. I'm shaking my leg all the time. My parents always think there's an earthquake when I go to their house for dinner because I'm just bouncing my leg up and
Bouncing your
down.
leg, yeah.
Restless leg syndrome.
Restless
is
leg
real.
syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't that a thing like when you're trying to sleep?
Not all the time.
Oh, no?
No, it's-
Okay, well, maybe that's what I have. I just always kind of pass it off as like nervous energy, but I am okay with it. I know I gesture a lot. I keep doing shit with my hands. I'm even noticing it on the monitor. Like I'm crossing my arms. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That's one hand is in my lap and I'm leaning like that. I mean, it's also
Manifestation
because,
of
yeah, and I get that I do that, and that's okay. Like it truly doesn't bother me. I realize it may look like I'm being restless, and some of it is being very, very conscious of the lights and the camera and the mics and the show. Some of it is that, but like that's okay. But anyway, anxiety. Sorry
And
to get
then-
off on a little jag there, but
And obviously, that you guys will make fun of the term, but self-care is important.
it is. It is.
Figure out what it means to you.
Yes.
Take a
Exactly.
bath, take a walk, take a bike ride,
Yeah.
have a beer, watch a movie. Like, find out what you like to do that helps you escape, even if it's for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you can find an hour, 2 more, great. But whatever it means to you, figure out what calms you and do it wherever and whenever you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that we've talked about as well, that just to, once again, kind of emphasize the therapy part is knowing that there's that hour a week, knowing that I have an hour a week, that I can talk to my therapist.
Yep.
You, not so much because you're lazy. But
Admit it. I admit it.
But you and I were saying, like, Ryan, that knowing we have that hour of week, if it's just a vent,
Look
or
forward
just
to
go
it
over
every
the
week.
Exactly. Having that was huge. And that was one of the things I instantly felt when I started seeing my first therapist out in California. It was like, oh, I know I have that week. And even if I had a horrible week, I know that I have an outlet. That alone carried me a long way and helped me to kind of, not in an unhealthy way, but compartmentalize things.
Right.
Where I was like, okay, I know I'm going to have to talk about this, or I'm going to have to go
And
over this with my
it-
therapist, or even if it was a reaction, I started feeling that kind of, that shame.
And in a similar vein to that, finding a group that you're comfortable with, be it music or alcohol, beer or whatever.
Or
it is,
alcohol.
or alcohol. But finding
Whether it's a therapist or AA or
OA.
OA.
OA, yes. Finding a group where when you go to wherever that group is, or you sign on to that group online or wherever it is, you feel a weight lifted off your shoulders because you don't have to worry about whatever it was that
Right.
was bothering you during the week, during the day.
And there's
You know?
that's another word that's been twisted and mutated, unfortunately. But finding a safe space is
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's been tarnished.
It's been abused.
because
Right.
yes, exactly, because of all the ways it's used in negative
on both,
connotation.
on both ends.
And just in general. But the idea, like the phrase safe space, finding a safe space, a place where you're comfortable talking about it. It could be one-on-one with a therapist. It could be in a group of
if you
people
want to
dealing with similar issues.
coloring books
Or a
while you
room
sit
full
on
of
a
puppies.
yeah, a room full of puppies with a beanbag chair and coloring books.
Awesome.
Fucking do
Yeah.
If
it.
that centers you, if that gets your compass recalibrated,
I'll make a joke about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but do it.
but do it
I was making
if it helps.
jokes about that 10 years ago, but now I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Right? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I would love to color.
Right?
I'm looking
But
at some of these.
the way it used to
art.
be presented, you're like pussies. Like
I know,
but-
well,
Exactly.
but that's
It is-
that's
it
like
is an
that's
image.
also
Really?
all the brio and everything
Yeah.
that comes with youth too,
Right.
where you feel invincible.
Yeah.
And then the older we've gotten, we realize, oh no, we're not invincible. Like,
Yeah.
there is
We've
stuff.
got plenty of chips in our armor.
Exactly. And what are you going to do to fix it? So yeah, self-care is important. I recommend meditation. Look, Headspace has a free trial. So does Calm. Check out those apps. Talkspace was the name,
Talkspace
right?
was the name
Talkspace.
of it.
You could look into that. If there's not someone you feel comfortable with. I mean, when it comes to something, if it's suicidal thoughts, things like that, talk to a parent, a friend, whoever.
Yes,
Reach
someone
out.
you know
We
you
don't.
trust.
I mean, as Andrew obviously did touch on it in part one, but I mean, if you feel like that's something that you can't control, or something, jokes aside, something like Call of the Void, where you're feeling some kind of impulse, then
See
yes,
someone.
reach out. Reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Because Andrew's thankful, even if he doesn't consciously acknowledge it, but every day he's happy that he's here, sitting and getting his balls busted by us, than not being here at all.
Could be worse.
It could be a lot
It
worse.
could be
Yeah.
a lot worse.
You could be
It could be worm food.
being eaten by worms. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And what the hell kind of
Who
fun
wants
is
to do
that?
that?
This is fun. I
Yeah.
mean, as much as it gets heavy, like this is a good time. Except for Christian, he's nodding off. So maybe we should wind down a little bit. But,
I can see it. Wait.
He's like, I'm never getting home.
listen,
oh, God,
we're
I'm never getting home. Either.
yeah, he's like, I wish you guys would just end it. No, I mean,
Don't worry. You and I both have work. I understand. I
work
know
in the
your
morning.
pain. Yeah.
But doesn't it feel good to actually have sat and talked
Jen's
it out
gonna
and
kill me.
everything?
You can sleep
What
on
time
my
did you
couch.
get home?
You can sleep on my couch.
But I don't even want to tell you.
Your office is down the road from my
And you know what you
apartment.
say to her? Self-care.
That's it.
And that's how
End
you
of
end
the
the
show.
show.
And that's where it is, everybody. All right. Thank you all for listening. Again, feel free to share this with anybody, not for promoting the show and blah, 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 but just if you feel like someone needs to hear this conversation, if somebody's struggling with something, then
I wanna
feel
hear-
free.
Hear three dopes talk about it.
Yeah, honestly, if you want to hear three, every men, and I'm not trying to make it into something it isn't, but anonymous guys, civilians, as opposed to
Regular
like
guys.
celebrities. Yeah, regular guys talking about dealing with it, and we didn't have an understanding of it 10 years ago like we do now, and it's all okay. It's fine. And we're also at a place where we're comfortable with it and talking about it. And we don't feel this stigma and the concern about putting this out there publicly. So that alone shows you that there's
a light.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
There is a light.
There's a light. I was looking for the proper metaphor, but you nailed it. So thank you for that. And so please share this. Please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice. Please follow the show at Kate Pod on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And the shows will be a lot funnier from here on out, for what it's worth. This is a little bit of a segue,
Detour.
a little bit of a detour, but it has its purpose. And it's not like it wasn't fun in moments. We knew this was going to be just a
No.
straight up serious
You can't
show.
have the three of us in the same room and not expect some joke.
Exactly.
Nope.
So there's that. And you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Aballo, and you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Sells Out. You can follow Andrew on Instagram and TikTok at metal_Drew. And you can follow Ryan at Honey I Drunk the Beers on Instagram. And you can also follow Arcade Player One on Twitter and Christian Cortez with some underscores in there on Instagram. Engineer Chris has been.
He always forgets about the other stuff.
What's that? I was going to get to yours in a second. I wasn't done with the plug. Why is it you're constantly just like, don't forget to plug my show?
Well,
because I didn't talk.
you like to.
If you want to hear about Freemason bullshit,
Don't touch
then
me.
You can check out the extended branch on YouTube. Are you happy? Jesus Christ!
Because you're like, oh, Andrew does this, and that's it.
All right, fine. I'll lump it in with your
Andrew's
plugs in
doing
the
more
future.
shit now.
I'll get better about it. Yeah, Andrew's doing more. Andrew's so inspired by the fact that I took the opportunity to come to a shared universe and do podcasts that he started participating in another podcast. But so you have me to thank is what I'm saying. And you're welcome.
That's it. I'm cutting my wrists.
Whatever. I'm out of here. You're wearing shorts. You had the right idea. It's hot as hell in here. People are like, wow, he's really nursing that water. He keeps going for it. It's hot in here, people. Anyway, thank you for listening. Once again, please share, subscribe, like, follow us, follow the show, and that's about it. So thanks for listening, for watching, for whatever it is you're doing. And don't feel stigmatized. Don't feel bad.
No, don't.
If you need help, seek it out. It is there. And coming from the three of us, it's worth it. And that'll do it for this week. So until next time, for Engineer Chris, Andrew Rizzitello, Ryan Taggart, this is Chris Aballo, and this was yet another experiment.
Dr. Crane, on line 2, we have Stuart, who's having a problem with delayed gratification.
Well, he's just gonna have to wait.